My name's Riley, and welcome to my TED Talk.
Welcome back to HIVEMIND Unlimited.
And welcome to another episode of How Did It Age, our movie series where we watch older movies and reevaluate them based on modern context. How did these movies age? And today's movie is Theodore, otherwise known as Ted.
Ah, I see what you did there.
Yeah, Seth MacFarlane's movie Ted, about a teddy bear that comes to life based on a boy's wish.
Yes, and this, you know what? I think I'm going to talk a lot about it later. Let's ease into this one.
Oh, okay.
Like just nice and slow.
Okay, yeah, maybe you give some context about the movie. That's usually what you do here. So
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
just ease right into that.
Yeah. As Riley said, this is directed by Seth MacFarlane. His directorial debut. It stars Mark Wahlberg, who
Of Wahlburgers.
and he was not the voice of anyone in Family Guy, which sets him apart from pretty much the rest of the cast here. Mila Kunis is in it. The guy who does Joe's voice plays Guy, who's like Wahlberg's co-worker.
Yeah, I believe his name is Patrick Warburton.
Thank you. And Joel McHale's in it, who plays the creepy boss, Mila Kunis's creepy boss.
In Ted, not in Family Guy.
Yes, correct. Yep, he is not Meg's creepy boss.
Yep.
And Giovanni Ribisi, who plays Donnie, who's kind of the creepy, almost like Silence of the Lambs, Buffalo Bills like captor of Ted later on. And the whole thing, oddly enough, is narrated by Patrick Stewart. But Seth MacFarlane's a nerd, so that makes sense. This is the most surprising fact about this movie. 2012, this is the 12th highest grossing movie of the year, and $549.4 million were made on a $50 million budget.
Yeah, that's striking.
That is astonishing. It's Universal's biggest movie of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised.
Fox turned it down because Seth MacFarlane obviously had the working relationship with Fox and was like pitching it to him, and they were like, we'll do it if it's animated, but he really wanted to make it live action, and he ended up over at Universal, and here we go. We got the masterpiece. It has a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 62 out of 100 on Metacritic, and a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb, and Roger fucking Ebert gave it a 3.5 stars, saying, best comedy screenplay of the year. What the fuck did I miss? Did I miss something? Did I watch a different movie? Paul Thomas fucking Anderson said it was great and put it on his best movies of the 21st century.
You said we were going to ease into it.
What the fuck did I fucking miss?
All right, have you seen this movie before?
I got a few things left to say. Yes, I saw it in theaters.
Oh, okay. Then, yeah, you can just go on with the rest of your stuff.
It got nominated for a fucking Academy fucking Award.
Yeah, it's a lot of fucking. You're saying a lot of fuck.
For an original song, mind you. It wasn't nominated for Mila Kunis's and Mark Wahlberg's non-existent screen chemistry, but yeah, nominated for an Academy Award. Thankfully didn't win, so hopefully in due time we will forget about it. I don't know. I'm just at $550 million, almost a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. Paul Thomas Anderson and Roger Ebert love it, and it gets a nomination. What's going on, dog?
It was 2012. I feel like this is a very funny movie, but just has like its fair share of problems, and it's too long.
Yeah, and I think it does. I've kind of come to the realization that doing this, there are like several sweet spots in time, and like the 2002 through 2008 is like on that perfect level of nostalgia now, and that 2010 to 2015 is right at that. Everything feels like so dated and like corny, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like we haven't reached nostalgia for that yet. And
Right.
also, I think a lot of people think that just gradually over time, we got more and more like quote unquote PC.
Yeah.
And that didn't really happen. It like pushed a line until there was like a reckoning with offensive humor. And so this was right at the tail end. Like this is right before people started to decide this is too offensive to say and whatever. And so there's a lot of stuff in this movie that's like, oh my God, that's in this movie in 2012. That's way too late to be doing that.
Yeah.
But that's what happened.
The last bit of information I guess I'll share about leading up to this movie is a big part of its advertisement campaign was Ted using Axe, Remember Axe?
Yeah, Axe body spray.
Yeah, and the bear would use Axe and then get laid. And I guess since you want more details about the commercial, in one of them, Ted brings a woman to orgasm under the table while slipping a man at the table next to him a bottle of Axe, as if to say, this could be you, dog. So those were the commercials that promoted this film that Roger fucking Ebert loved.
Once again, have you seen this movie before?
I did. I saw it in theaters when it came out.
And not since then?
No.
Yeah. And if you're asking me, yes, a resounding yes. I have seen this movie before.
I was asking you. Thank you.
For a movie that overall I did not like a lot and don't think aged well, there are a lot of really funny lines in it. The one that made me laugh out loud first in the movie is when the narrator, Patrick Stewart, says, "Now if there's one thing you can be sure of, it's that nothing is more powerful than a young boy's wish, except an Apache helicopter. An Apache helicopter has machine guns and missiles. It is an unbelievably impressive complement of weaponry, an absolute death machine."
Yeah. The tone of that joke is so Family Guy.
Yeah.
Like just taking one thing and then just like being like, but also this insane thing.
And it's just narrating the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Like you haven't seen much live action yet,
Right.
and you get a joke from the narrator.
Yeah, that joke's pretty good. This whole movie's like laced with a bunch of things that he's pulled from Family Guy episodes. You can just tell.
Yeah, totally.
I guess I'll try and find a line. I didn't like a lot of lines. I do like the early line when Ted is talking about how on 9/11 he bought some weed. He's like, you remember on 9/11? I was like, oh shit, 9/11. I got to get high.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. And there's like a not cool, I guess, but the reason that conversation is worked in early, I guess, is because Seth MacFarlane and Mark Wahlberg were supposed to be on planes.
Yeah, during 9/11.
Seth MacFarlane specifically on like one of the flights.
Yeah, he slept through his flight famously.
Yeah.
He slept through his flight because he was hungover and like he had a ticket for one of the planes.
Yeah, and
was
Mark
not on it.
Wahlberg was going to fly to LA with a connecting flight through New York and decided just to drive to New York instead. And then like it was that day it happened.
And he famously says that if he would have been on one of those planes, it would have gone down differently. Mark Wahlberg says that.
Fuck yeah, and I believe it.
I do not believe him, but he's like, I would have stopped him.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
It's just nuts.
Yeah. Another line that I absolutely love in this is that there's a kid who's obsessed with
Yes.
Ted, who's trying to steal him from Mark Wahlberg. It's him and his dad. There's like this whole lore where like the dad saw Ted on TV and he had like a negligent father around who was like, shut up, I'm not getting you a teddy bear, whole thing. So he's trying to get him for his son. The son is talking to Mark Wahlberg and Ted in the park and says, stand up straight when you're talking. And Mark Wahlberg says, why the fuck would he say that?
Yeah, that is easily my favorite line. It's just the idea of like making Mark Wahlberg say that line. It just seems like such a weird thing to say, like to the three people you're talking. Why the fuck would he say that? Like,
yeah, it's very like breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Where it's like they almost wrote it and we're like, wait, why would he say that?
Yeah.
And then having Mark Wahlberg just go, wait, why the fuck would he say that?
That's by far my favorite, like little trading of lines there. I love the line where Mark Wahlberg skips out on work and goes to Ted's apartment after they've moved out together, and they're watching the behind-the-scenes extra content of Cheers, and it's it's the Ted Danson segment, and he goes, "Was there cocaine on the set of Cheers? Let me put it this way: are there naked dicks and gay porn?" And then like they're like talking about it, they're like, "Oh, that's so cool," and he's going on and on. He's like, "It was the '80s," and then he does a callback right at the end. And he goes, "Was I popular? Are there naked dicks and gay porn?" It's just so ridiculous. It's Ted Danson. Makes it a cameo in the movie on the screen about a fake behind the scenes of Cheers, and that's how he's talking about it.
Yeah.
That as a premise is really funny. That's totally something you would see in Family Guy.
Yeah, I love that they got Ted Danson to do that because it's clearly not really the behind the scenes of Cheers. It's just Ted Danson now doing that. And Ted Danson ends that scene by saying, Woody Harrelson, smallest dick I've ever seen on a man. And then Ted makes a comment that is like, he's just like, see, now that's cool. Cause like, I wouldn't have known that. It's like one of those behind the scenes things. Like, it's very funny.
Yeah. Those are a couple good lines in there. There's like the classic quotable line I feel like from this is when Mark Wahlberg's talking to Mila Kunis's boss. They're at like his party or whatever, and they're having like a man-to-man moment. And he's like, as one gentleman to another, I'm not going to do the Boston accent.
Yeah.
He says, as one gentleman to another, I hope you get Lou Gehrig's disease, which is just a funny, like, wish on someone.
It is the way he delivers it, though.
Yeah.
He's like, I got to say, as one gentleman to another, I really hope you get Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yeah.
Like, he says it like in a way where you think he's about to say something nice.
Right.
And then he says that.
Yeah.
And it's so specific.
It is funny. And then the ultimate callback there is that he does get it at the end.
That sucks. I hate the post credits of this movie more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
It ruins the movie.
That the kid, Donnie or whatever, turns into Taylor Lautner.
Yeah, well, yeah, he loses weight and becomes Taylor Lautner. It's like the corniest shit ever is the post credits of this movie. I also love there's a scene where Mark Wahlberg drops his phone in his car and Mila Kunis goes up to his apartment first, and when she gets there, Ted is there with a bunch of strippers. She's arguing with him, arguing with Ted, being like, what are you doing, blah, 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 blah. And Mark Wahlberg, unaware, comes up with a lobster and holds it into frame in the door so you don't see Mark Wahlberg. And he's like, oh, I'm lobster, whatever. Doing some lobster bit. And Ted says, oh, that's so good. That's my buddy John. Not the lobster, the guy running it.
The guy running it. I had that written down as one of my best lines, too, because that's just such a funny... He's running the lobster bit.
Yeah, he's running the lobster.
That's my boy Johnny. Not the lobster, the guy running it. The guy behind the madness of the lobster bit. He gets the lobster from the anniversary dinner that they're at beforehand. And the waiter comes out before the food is served and gives them Cristal. Mila Kunis is like, oh, Cristal. And Mark Wahlberg's like, yeah, it's our 4th anniversary, It's my very special girl. And plus, all those rich black people can't be wrong. Just like about the Cristal. And it's like, I remember I like gritted my teeth at first. And then I was like, that's actually kind of a funny line.
That's a funny line.
It's a funny line for like the downbeat, like the deadbeat 35-year-old guy from Boston to say, plus, honey, all those rich black people can't be wrong. We'll give us a shot of the Cristal.
Yeah. I also love when Ted starts hooking up with the girl from the grocery store. I don't love that. I led into this wrong. But basically, he's a teddy bear and he has like sexual relations with people, including Norah Jones. He and Norah Jones have a sexual history in this movie. But he starts hooking up with a girl from the grocery store, and her name's Tammy Lynn. She's supposed to be, a trashy...
The white trash Southie.
Yes, that's kind of the idea of Tammy Lynn. So they're on a double date, Ted and Tammy Lynn, John and Lori. And Lori and Tammy Lynn are not getting along because, she thinks that, you think you're better than me? That sort of thing, whatever. And then they get in a full-on fight, and Ted's like breaking it up and pushing her towards the door. And she says, I gave birth once. I can kick your fucking ass. And then Ted says, I didn't know you had a baby. Is it alive?
Yeah. We have, oddly enough, like identical favorite lines. That was the next one I was going to read. Because that's just like, I don't know. There's a classic like quip that Seth MacFarlane has the ability to do where it's like, he's shocked by it, but then it comes back. Is it alive? Like it's that add-on that is like, oh fuck, that's funny. Like, I don't even want to think that whole scene sucks, but like then that line at the end is pretty funny.
Yeah, it's great. I'm gonna do a lightning round on scenes that aged badly in this movie. Asian racism, which I assume Seth MacFarlane and Mark Wahlberg initially bonded over. 2, Virginia Tech joke. 3, all those rich black people can't be wrong, right? Which we already talked about. It is funny, but still. 4, lots of shit and fart jokes. 5, the very sexual relationship between Ted and the grocery store girl Tammy Lynn. 6, coworker says her boyfriend got deported back to Iran. And then Mark Wahlberg says, well, I guess we both lost our furry little guy. 7, okay, a lot of Asian racism. This is, as I'm going throughout the movie, this is what I wrote down. 8, Norah Jones half-Indian 9/11 joke.
Yes.
9, when John sings with Norah Jones really badly, Ted says, still better than Katy Perry, which is just annoying. 10, there's a few SA jokes. And 11, he comes back disabled as a joke at the end, that being Ted, when he's like revived back to life, he's talking as if he's disabled. And then says, no, I'm just kidding. I was pretending to be R-worded, which unfortunately did make me laugh out loud, but at the same, just the Boston accent saying that word does make me laugh out loud, but it didn't age well.
No!
It did not age.
And that's what we're talking about.
And that's what we're talking about. All right, go ahead.
I guess I'll go through my bad ones here and see if I have anything different. I think you did a great job of covering them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe not the ones that didn't age bad. I'll just point out a few that are really stupid.
Sure.
The Thunder Buddies premise thing is just so dumb.
Yeah, they're afraid of storms.
Yeah, it's like supposed to make me, I don't know, like always imagine Mark Wahlberg's character as a child and kind of like retain some of his innocence. I don't know. It's just stupid. I hate it. I hate that it has like callbacks that Ted tells Lori, "You're going to be his Thunder Buddy for now." Like,
what is this with your voice here?
You're going to be his Thunder Buddy now. I don't know. I can't do it, dude.
You're doing
all right?
like a 50-year-old or something.
I can't do a Boston accent, so fuck off.
You know what, Lori? You're going to have to be his Thunder Buddy now.
That was weird how you quivered at the end.
Because he's dying.
Yeah,
when he
okay.
says it.
I guess a real tasteless one is early on when Ted's like first gaining celebrity and they're showing like the news from around the world. They show like a Japanese news anchor, a man and a woman, and the guy, for whatever reason, slaps the woman. We didn't have subtitles on there, so I don't know what's said, but that doesn't matter. It's not really justified. And also just like as a shock humor joke, like how fucking stupid is that? Another one that made me laugh out loud, but I feel like kind of ages weird, is Mark Wahlberg does just punch a kid in the face.
Totally.
Just straight up cold cocks a kid and then says, someone had to Joan Crawford that kid, is what he said. So that was tough. And basically like Ted's sexual interactions and just how much they sexualize him. It's just so weird. I feel like the movie works whether or not the bear has sex. I don't know like why there's so many scenes or why they talk about that. There's like, he's like, yeah, for the amount of angry letters I've written to Hasbro about not having a penis. It's just like, I don't know. That's just very strange.
I can answer that question.
Oh, sure. Go right ahead.
Seth MacFarlane cannot help himself.
Yeah.
You know, Brian has sex in Family Guy, too.
Yeah,
He's
true.
a dog. You know?
That's true.
And like gets the same amount of sexual attention as a man would.
Yeah.
You know?
Overall, I think my worst scene in this whole movie is when Sam Jones punches the hole through the wall at the house party and the angry Asian neighbor comes over with a live duck and like a wooden spoon and does like what seems to be an embellished accent and is talking about how they were going to have duck soup, and then they proceed to have this like fight where Ted fights the duck and everybody else fights the Asian guy. That just as a scene sucked. I hated the whole party scene.
Yeah.
Like the whole party scene just is like so lame. They like do blow and then they have like the business conversation. And
I would have loved to have been in the boardroom when they pitched the idea that Ted was going to draw Garfield's face on a naked woman's boobs.
Yeah.
It's like there's no nudity in this movie except for that.
Yep.
So keeping that very inconsequential scene in is very strange to me.
Yep.
That they're like, no, we gotta have that scene. Like, it's like a whole different rating of the movie if you take that scene out, and it doesn't matter. It's super weird. The party scene is just like a collage of like dumb, reckless shit.
Yeah, and it's so long.
Yeah.
It goes on really long. Like I took a piss break at about an hour into this movie, and there was still like 50 minutes left. And as I could see the bar, I was like, oh, it's good to know there's another hour of this movie left. And you've like literally, it could wrap up in 20 minutes. It could be like an 80-minute movie, and it would probably be better for it.
Yeah.
That's all unfortunate. Great job covering the terrible scenes.
Thank you.
There are a few scenes that I did really like, or I thought comedically were pretty funny. One's like a collection of maybe 3 scenes is when Ted goes to get the job at the grocery store. And he says like the most vulgar thing anybody could say to someone as they're trying to get a job. And the boss or the person interviewing him says, "No one's ever talked to me like that. You're hired." That little bait and switch, I was like, that's fucking funny. Mm-hmm. And then later on, when he gets caught having sex in the produce, and he like even expounds on it, and he's like, I used a parsnip in a sexual act, and then I gave it to a family. The boss is like, that takes guts. We need guts around here, and like keeps his job. And then at the end, like the callback, whatever, in the final credits scene, he ends up getting promoted for doing something even worse. So
yeah,
I kind of like that as the character of just this like really fucked up grocery store manager who just keeps promoting this teddy bear who's like doing chaotic acts all over the store.
Yeah.
I love the scene when Johnny rather, is rattling off white trash names because Ted's like, I'm seeing a girl. She's got one of those white trash names. And he's like, don't say it. Let me do it. And he like, the script there is actually really good because he just fluently rips off like 35 names so fast.
Yeah. He's like, Brittany, Stephanie, Tammy.
Yeah, he does it so fast.
Nonstop. He goes, you still didn't get it. And then he's like, wait a minute. Is it one of the names I mentioned, but with a Lynn at the end? And he goes, yes. And then he goes, just names a bunch of them in a row.
Yes.
And then he's like, still no. And then he tells him and he's like, fuck.
Yeah. That's very like succinct, very well written there. And
yes.
It's like funny and pretty well delivered by Mark Wahlberg. And finally, the Giovanni Ribisi's character, when he finally captures Ted and he locks him in his room with his son, and Ted's like breaking out as he's making the kid count for hide and seek, and he's just in the living room doing like the dance, like very Buffalo Bill-esque, drinking a little drink, looking at the TV and like showing his ass. Like that as just a performance and as a scene is like actually very funny because he's like this sadistic, kidnapper of this talking bear.
I also had the white trash name conversation. I will give a tip of the cap to the editing during the Flash scene where John is leaving Laurie's work party to go see the Flash.
I had that written down as well.
Yeah, like he's driving over there in his normal car.
Right.
But they edit it like it's like a Flash sequence from the old superhero show. And so it's like very, very good and cool editing with the right music. It's very cool and adds a lot to the movie, I think. And then I also really loved, it does toe the line. It's an edgy joke that they do, but while they're on cocaine, they're talking about starting a restaurant, which you often do, the idea of coming up with new businesses while you're on cocaine.
How would you know?
I don't know. I've heard from people. Okay. And they're talking about starting an Italian restaurant, and he says, it's a non-restricted place. Like anyone can come. Jews are allowed. And then he says, why wouldn't they be? He's like, no, that's what I'm saying. They'd be allowed. He goes, I mean, like, why even say it?
Yeah.
Like, that is a very funny idea.
Yeah, like he's just saying so much in the moment. It's like, wait, why would you even say that? Of course they're allowed.
And then the last thing that I love about this movie is that Ryan Reynolds is in it and never says a line.
Yep.
Non-speaking Ryan Reynolds role.
Yeah.
As just Patrick Warburton's first gay boyfriend.
Yeah, and the guy who beats him up.
Yes.
And it's uncredited. Ryan Reynolds is like list in the IMDb, like everybody that's in the cast, but in parentheses is uncredited. Just did it.
Yeah, he never says a line.
Maybe he didn't get paid.
Maybe.
I don't know.
There's just a favor to his buddy Seth.
Yeah, I feel like I've already touched on it a lot. I mean, there's excessive amounts of racism, especially the Asian neighbor bit, and then just, I don't know, there's like a adolescent style of humor that I feel like just wouldn't be in this big of a movie today. But
this is one of those how did it age where like we do have a reference. There's a TV show out right now.
True.
And I have watched it, and I rewatched it after we watched the movie just to see in comparison to the first movie. And it does have a bit of a reined in, especially on the racism, it's reined in and it tackles a lot of the same topics, but they tackle it differently. There's a lot of conversations kind of confronting racism, prejudice, misogyny, homophobia, all of those things that kind of run rampant in the original Ted and especially in 2000s episodes of Family Guy.
Yeah.
That they kind of talk about dinner table style. There's a lot of dinner table family conversations in the Ted TV show that are about all of the things that happen in most of Seth MacFarlane's comedy. And I'm not saying that it's handled super well, but they definitely handle it with a little more care.
Yeah.
There's a little intention to kind of tackle the issue of prejudice in comedy.
Yeah.
And the one thing that is really funny about this TV show, John's parents are in the movie, and then John's parents in the TV show, completely different people, and they don't even try.
Yeah.
Like, his dad has red hair in the TV show, and in the movie, it looks like an older version of him, kind of. And it's just completely different actors, not even close.
Yeah.
They don't even, like, pretend to be in the same universe, really.
I guess the grand amount of the audience might be people that didn't even see the movie.
And it also takes place in the 90s.
Right.
And it's interesting because, like, a lot of the conversations they have wouldn't happen in the 90s. These are, like, very modern conversations. Like, they talk about, like, you know, the word people use for little people. And they have, like, a big conversation about that. And I'm like, the 90s, people weren't even talking about that.
No.
And homophobia, like there's a scene in the show where John's getting bullied, being called slurs for gay people, and then Ted's like, dude, being gay is cool, like, and he's outside and he's like, raise your hand if you're gay, and everybody raises their hands. I'm like, this is the 90s. That was not like that. But at the same time, I think it's very funny that it's a prequel to the movie, and if they had all these conversations and gotten to conclusions like, hey, homophobia is wrong. Racism is wrong. Prejudice in general is not cool. Bullying isn't cool. All of these things, why are they like this in the movie? You know what I mean? Like, they have not come to the same resolve. The same character development does not happen for them to act this way in the movie.
They mature in reverse. Somehow.
It's weird, but the TV show is not bad. I'd say the movie has higher heights of like making me laugh out loud, but it's not, the TV show's not nearly as offensive if you want to check that out. For recast, I just think like ethically, Ted should have been voiced by a real bear. It just doesn't feel right that a person would voice a bear. You know what I mean? Maybe the bear from Cocaine Bear. Or like the bear from The Revenant, maybe.
Oh, nice, yeah.
There's just a lot of bears in Hollywood. And this is not a commentary on you know, gay culture and stuff like that. I'm saying like there are a lot of real animal bears in Hollywood that I feel like would have loved this role, would have helped their careers along. Paddington also is one of them.
Paddington's even more racist than Ted, though, I hear Offset.
And Paddington 2. Yeah. Paddington 2, apparently a great movie, but I hear Offset, he's a nightmare. But yeah, that's my recast.
I took that into account in mind. I think Ted should be recast as Winnie the Pooh. The public domain has run up on that, and we have the Winnie the Pooh horror movie, whatever. Let's just put Winnie the Pooh.
Wait. You said the Winnie the Pooh what movie?
The horror movie.
Sorry, thought you said horror. I didn't know if there was like a slutty.
Yeah, there might be. It's probably coming. But if it was Winnie the Pooh smoking a bong, you know, doing all that, hanging out, that's up for grabs. I feel like it's a great opportunity to take like what is already familiar to your now target audiences, something they're familiar with in childhood.
Well, there is a Ted 2. By the way, there's a sequel, which is longer. I know
Good.
that you wanted.
Oh, it's
you were
2 hours
hoping
20.
It is an hour and 56. This one's an hour and 49. And also, I will say they've done the TV show. Why not run it back? Ted 3, Ted versus Winnie.
Yeah, perfect. Like a Freddy versus Jason thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And,
but not a horror movie. I think it should still be a comedy.
Okay. Taking into account your criticism of me always recasting in the time, so that's what I did this time. A very modern recast. It says Winnie the Pooh as the bear. It has Jeremy Allen White as Johnny.
The bear. Another the bear would be okay. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Sydney Sweeney plays Lori.
And nothing to say about that.
Nothing. Sydney Sweeney is Jeremy Allen White's girlfriend.
I'd see it.
Yeah, I think that's a great recast.
Yep.
Good job, me.
Good job, you. Overall, one of those above average soundtracks, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think the score is really good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And Norah Jones being a character in the movie is cool. I wish she didn't have a sexual history with the teddy bear. But it's cool that she performs in it and is a character in it.
Yeah, I almost think the Norah Jones having a sexual history with Ted like works as a joke if Ted's sexual activity throughout the movie isn't so like blatant and in your face. Like let's just say it just goes back and forth. He's just Johnny's burnout friend. And then by the time they meet Norah Jones, if he's like, oh yeah, we hooked up in college, that's like actually funny. But the whole time he's just such like a little sexual deviant and people actually want to have sex with him. And it just makes his character strange.
I will also say, and this is just another ethics conversation, I guess, but he came to life in the 80s. And then they talk about him hooking up with Norah Jones right after 9/11.
Yeah.
After a 9/11 benefit that they did together, which would have made him 16 at the oldest. So Ted would have been 16 hooking up with Norah Jones. So I'm just saying that's like...
Yeah, but he doesn't have a penis and he's a bear. He's a magical bear.
Totally.
And when he came to, he was the age of Johnny.
Oh, okay.
Because they've aged identically. Like right as the shooting star happened, he was like 8.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know what I mean? So I'd say he was probably more like 24.
Okay, cool.
It's not like he wished for him to be alive and he was like,
yeah, I guess I just don't understand.
Magic.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand magic science. Yeah. Biology of magic bears.
Yeah, that's all right. I kind of agree with most of what you said on the soundtrack. I think Seth MacFarlane is an incredibly talented musician, and it's scored like such a better movie than it is. Like the little in-between shots whenever someone's pulling up to someone's house or whenever they're traveling or when a scene's like transitioning, there's like full orchestra, big band, like massive percussion, and it's like scored like an old-time Hollywood movie in like a very elegant and like nice way. In a way that's almost jarring when you're watching it. Like when you go from scene to scene, it'll be like, yeah, and that's when I, and then they like, smoke a bong, and then it's like, and then like, the sun sets and it goes into the next scene. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like I said, in the very beginning, this got a fucking Academy Award, or didn't win the award, but it got nominated for an Academy Award for that opening song, I Need a Best Friend, or
I'm Happy I'm Yours.
Yeah, which is a great song.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. It feels so out of place in this movie, but at the same time, it has to serve as some sort of saving grace. Like it does help tie some of those really crude, really crass things together and does add a dichotomy that is like just laughable. And it's in a comedy, so it's like, it has to kind of work, but it's just very strange.
I will say the TV show uses that theme song, but performed by Norah Jones.
Oh, nice. She
came
back.
Then the score of the TV show is almost identical to Family Guy.
Yeah.
In a way that's like ridiculous. The TV show is much more like Family Guy.
Yeah.
And I know that this, like, there's a lot of similarities here because Seth MacFarlane's making it and the style of humor is just Seth MacFarlane's style of humor. But the TV show is set up like Family Guy. It's a sitcom about a family. And the music is, like, literally identical to Family Guy to the point where it's like, sometimes I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
What's going
Why
on?
is this not a cartoon?
Lucky he's a teddy bear.
Maybe.
No. Nope. Nada. Not gonna do it.
I'll say it's a pretty funny movie, but it comes with a lot of, red flags, like content warnings. It gets pretty offensive and really stupid a lot of the time. There are some jokes in it, though, that are so funny that it's almost worth watching, like for the Ted Danson thing or the white trash name conversation.
I would just send the YouTube clips. It's not worth 2 hours of anybody's life that I care about at all.
Here's the thing. I do really love the premise of the movie. I do. And
so did Roger Ebert.
That's what I was going to say, is I think that's why Roger Ebert and Paul Thomas Anderson like this movie, is it's set up like a really good movie. You just have to ignore so much of Seth MacFarlane's tendencies as a comedian to make stuff about shit and farts and anti-Asian racism
and dicks and sex.
Sex, and like it's very vulgar and very stupid and lowbrow overall. But the premise of the movie, and even honestly, the emotional palette of the movie, it has a lot of range because it is legitimately sad at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic rom-com of like the buddies that, can't grow up, mature, change their ways, and one of them has, the successful girlfriend who needs him to step up to the plate to become a man. He has the threat of her boss, who is this successful, could give her the life that she really wants, but she likes him for who he is, and he just needs to change. Like we've seen that movie before. This time the buddy is just a magical bear, which is funny.
Yeah, and I think Seth MacFarlane just needs an editor when it comes to movies like this. And I'm not saying like an editor, like somebody to edit the movie.
Right.
I'm saying someone to edit what he wants to put in there. Because there's a good movie in here.
Yeah.
It's constant distractions that make you go, ugh, like this is really in here.
Yeah.
You just need somebody to like cut those out, because I think he can make a great movie.
Yeah.
Like
maybe a woman.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
The bones are there for a fantastic movie.
Yeah, but as it stands and as it was made, I am still in awe of its reviews and the money it made, and I would not recommend it to anyone. I gave it 1.5 stars, and I am really struggling to even justify why I gave it 1.5 stars, and I don't really know what to say about it. I think the funniest thing I could say about it is I think Mila Kunis hates Mark Wahlberg. From like a hate watch perspective, the funniest thing about this movie is just that they're supposed to be dating, and it's like the most unbelievable relationship I've ever seen.
I will say they do make a joke in this movie that I think is aware of that. Like, she's talking about why she loves him to her coworkers, and she's like, it doesn't hurt that he's like the hottest guy in Boston.
Yeah.
And like that is played for a laugh. That is not played for her seriously saying that.
Right.
The laugh there is Mark Wahlberg is not hot.
And maybe everybody in Boston isn't hot. You know, it's like maybe that's also
it's like a
the
double
joke.
joke. Yeah. I gave it 2.5 stars and said would have worked better as a cartoon TV show about a dysfunctional family with a talking dog.
That's nice.
Yeah. Overall, Seth MacFarlane's brand of humor is a bit much outside of the cartoon world,
Yes.
and this is him figuring that out. And there are times where his humor is elevated by being real people. Some of the absurdity sometimes is heightened when it's real people saying what Seth MacFarlane writes. But overall, I think it's a little bit of a rough transition out of that. And I think there are great things about this movie, and it's just bogged down by Seth MacFarlane's insistence on being vulgar and offensive and overall just childish.
Yeah.
It's kind of autobiographical in a certain way, in that I think Seth MacFarlane sees a lot of himself in Ted and John.
Yeah.
Of just like, I can't give up being a kid.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think like this figured it out for him. I don't think this is lesson learned. He made almost $1 billion off of it and got a sequel and now has a TV show 12 years later.
Yeah, Seth MacFarlane has made a lot of money off of things that he needs to learn from, probably.
Right. Yeah.
But
that is what it is.
He's one of the most talented people.
Yeah.
Like, he can do a lot of different things very, very well. One of them is not edit out his own vulgar comedy.
And the other one is sing Frank Sinatra tunes.
Yeah. Well, he is good at that.
Yeah, right. And he's good at not editing out things that are nasty.
Yeah. I just said one of them is not that.
Ah, shit.
So,
we're kind of in a bind.
Yeah, we're in a bind here.
Lucky he's a family guy.
All right, let's end this video. That is our review and reevaluation of Ted, a 2012 movie by Seth MacFarlane. Let us know if you liked this movie, or if you disliked it, or if you saw it for the first time because of this series. And if you want to know what we're watching next, join our Patreon. It's only $5 a month. It's linked in the description. Or you can become a member on our main YouTube channel, HIVEMIND, for $5 a month by clicking the join button there. And we post a week ahead of time what movie we're going to be talking about, so you can watch it ahead of time to be in the loop when you're watching these videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment what you think down below, like the video, all that stuff. We're HIVEMIND Unlimited, and we'll see you in the next one.
Let us know what we should watch next.